horsepower ranch just outside of Ensenada in Baja, California. And why am I here? It's pretty cool. I'm going to be racing the Volkswagen all-electric ID4 1,000 miles across the Baja Peninsula. Now, this isn't the Baja 1000. That's where vehicles are doing all 1,000 miles in one single day. No, this is the Mexican 1000 put on by Nora. This is a 5-stage rally. So we've got some stages on the dirt and a few stages on the pavement. And the goal of Volkswagen is to do all of those dirt stages in one single charge. Is it going to work? I don't know. It's a giant experiment.
The ID4 is the new electric SUV from Volkswagen with an 82 kilowatt-hour battery, storing enough electricity for 250 miles of range when on the pavement. A single electric motor in the rear produces 201 horsepower and 228 pound-feet of torque. Yep, you heard me right. We're taking a rear-wheel drive vehicle racing in Baja. I swear to God, we've got to be nuts. Now, behind the wheel for the most part of the race is going to be rallycross champion Tanner Faust, but I'm going to get my time in the car as well, both as driver and co-driver. Having already wheeled the Rivian R1T over the 7-day Rebelle Rally, I'm super stoked to get another EV race under my belt.
Reese Millen and his team, they've certainly beefed up the suspension. There's a lift on it, there's better tires, all of that kind of good stuff. But we're still going to have to drive really, really carefully. I mean, this is a 15 mile an hour, 20 mile an hour vehicle. This isn't a trophy truck. And so we just need to make sure that we don't drive it as such. We need to drive the car within its limits, regen as much as possible, and also, most importantly, have fun.
The week before the Mexican 1000 race, another EV, the Lordstown Endurance, attempted to race the San Felipe 250, but the team didn't make more than 38 miles. The terrain in San Felipe meant that it was next to impossible for the charging truck to meet the race truck to add those extra electrons. Here at the 5-day Mexican 1000, each day has dirt stages with short transit stages on the pavement in between, and this is where Volkswagen will charge the ID4 using a biofuel generator. The charging truck never has to venture off the pavement. As long as we can get the ID4 to the end of each stage, we should be golden. But at the end of day one, the ID4 is looking pretty good. The rear aftermarket mounts for the rally shocks took a dump during stage 1, but Faust was able to drive carefully and the chase crew swapped the stock shocks back onto the rear during that transit stage. So the car's now really soft in the rear, but it's still trucking on.
Well, it is the start of day 2, and somehow I found myself in a racing suit, and I'm going to be taking on the first stage of day 2, which is from the northern part of San Felipe to the southern part, to a little town called Delicias, or as I've always just called it, the Poblado. The terrain in here, I don't know what it is, because again, there's no pre-running. I know that San Felipe's got a lot of whoops. I kind of hope that we're not on that section of course down here. I also know that there's some graded dirt roads, so it could be pretty difficult or it could be pretty easy, and that's one of the cool things about Nora, is that you never really know what you're gonna get until you get there.
So yeah, that thought was kind of the understatement of the year. I mean, I was having a great time getting driving tips from Tanner, kicking some major butt until we hit some sand.
See if we can get going straight ahead. Full throttle. Oh, no, stop.
The unfortunate thing is that we had no recovery gear with us. No shovel, no max tracks, nothing. All of that stuff was on the chase truck that was fortunately able to find a hard pack access road to us. Thank God.
Keep going.
Did you see what just happened? We've been stuck for I don't know how long, and we were digging with our hands, we were digging with Tanner's flip-flops, because there's all these like prickly things in here. We've dug these giant holes. The pre-runner came, the pre-runner got stuck. The rescue came from Nora, the rescue got stuck. And as soon as Nate and the other really cute guy showed up, we got out with the help of boards. Yes, we're back in the fight, people.
We ended up having to take the maximum time for that stage, and it took us so long to get out that we missed the starting time for stage 2, so we took max time for that as well. And if we had turned around, we would have gotten stuck again, so we had to reverse out. If this isn't a lesson for always carrying your own recovery gear, I don't know what is.
All right, you may be wondering how the heck we're charging this ID4 out here in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we got to work with the infrastructure we have, which in Baja is not so much. So we've brought a truck and trailer. So the truck is carrying a diesel generator, feeds that power into a 50 kilowatt battery. When we get to a transit stage, this one here is about 15, 16 miles, put the car in the trailer, plug the car in, get some juice. If we don't have enough juice when we get to the next special stage, we usually have a little bit of time to keep the car plugged in. Now, there's nothing in the rules that says that we cannot put the car on a trailer. So Volkswagen is actually really smart here. They really looked at the rules and they saw how they could fit in their charging strategy within the rules of the Nora 1000.
But day 3 would find the biggest range challenge yet, a 167-mile dirt stage with no place for the charging truck to meet the ID4. Fortunately, the SUV can be tow charged, and our chase buggy was up to the task. Equivalent to a 20 kilowatt charger, the team was able to add enough juice to get the ID4 through the stage. Now, there's nothing in the rules that says that you can't fuel on stage. In fact, many gas-powered cars had to take a splash of fuel to make the whole 167 miles. Volkswagen just did it in a different way. Day 4 showed that even the pros can be limited by their vehicles when Tanner found himself at the end of a strap to make it up a steep and sandy hill. But frankly, I mean, there was no way a rear-wheel drive 4,600-pound car with only 200 horsepower was going to make it up this hill. I mean, that's just physics. Now, you can option an ID4 with all-wheel drive, but at the time of the rally, rear-wheel drive was all that was available to the team, and you gotta work with what you have. My own personal vindication would come later on day 4 when I got a second shot at glory racing the ID4 through San Felipe. My stage was 40 miles or so, but even with 60 miles of range on the clock, I still came in with just 4 miles to spare. Along the way, I used the regenerative braking as much as possible, hardly ever touching those mechanical brakes. This helps to add a few tenths of a mile back into the battery, and it helps transfer the weight to the front of the vehicle, so I've got a little bit more grip on the dirt to make the turns. I mean, there's plenty of room behind my right foot, but look, this is a race for a finish, not a win. And after getting the car stuck 2 days before, I am not about to break anything. Day 5 was finally our last day. We'd gone 929.7 miles, and we had just 211.3 miles until we reached racing glory. Tanner had to show a little bit of restraint on the many fast sections. I mean, after all, we're looking for total efficiency and range, not flat-out speed. Steep and rocky climbs were made easier with the traction control, but when Tanner realized he had enough range to make the finish, he turned off that nanny for just a little bit of fun. After a total of 37 hours, 36 minutes, and 15 seconds of racing, covering 1,141 miles, the ID4 crossed the finish line at Horsepower Ranch in Ensenada, making history as the first electric vehicle to complete a race in Baja. Heck, it wasn't even last. It came in 61st out of a total of 64 finishers. Volkswagen hasn't said if it will compete again next year, but I think we'll see more and more EVs breaking barriers in motorsports in the next few years. It's possible that power density will reach the point where EVs will only need to charge once a day, or maybe charging will speed up, allowing EVs to get back on course quicker. The ID4 was over 22 hours behind the Nora 1000 winner, so there is definitely a lot of time to make up, but I, for one, am 100% here for it.